Greetings. This is Phil Amerson with the To Be and Do podcast, where we want to talk about the importance not just of personal independence, but more importantly, the interdependence that's a part of what's so valued and valuable in our world. And one of the people I'm pleased to have the conversation with is Dr. Rachel Metheny. She's the pastor of Meridian Street Church. If you are fortunate enough to have listened to the earlier podcast, we've talked about that church and the growth that's happening there, the young couples that are returning. But in the midst of that, Rachel Metheny, how do you care for your own soul and your own spirit as your pastor of this rather wealthy, larger than usual church? What gives you the energy and the spiritual
Mm.
world to keep on keeping on?
And also slightly purple church as well.
Slightly purple church.
Slightly, do you like
Interesting.
that?
I love
Yes.
it. I love it,
Yes.
especially during Lent.
Yes. Right. So, I probably do two main things for my um, sanity. One is I do a lot of walking and hiking. And I'm taking a group from the church. We have 17 going, which really surprised me, who wanted to hike part of the El Camino de Santiago in northern Spain. And we're going to go after Lent because we were doing this series in Lent on pilgrimage. And the intent was then we would go on one. And so I've been doing a lot of walking. It's a good way to exercise in and also claim it as a part of my job. Yeah, so I have to go out and walk, for 2 hours because I got to prepare for this trip. Um, and way back when I was younger, I ran mini marathons. I did more running and realized that's not good for my joints. And I've always been someone that has tried to, stay in shape. And so really enjoyed walking and doing some really kind of big hiking trips. I like something with a little bit of a challenge that's hard, but I can still do. Because when you do complete it, and I reflect back on the experiences, you sort of forget how sore your knees are and, um, how it's hard to hike in high altitude, and you just remember the good moments of the trail, and they always bring back really good moments. And so I hiked to Machu Picchu, did that. It's like a 5-day hike. Did not have to carry my backpack though. They have porters. You have to carry your water, and you got to drink a lot of water on that because of the high altitude, and it does affect you if you've ever been at a high altitude. And then I did a 9-day hut-to-hut hike in the Dolomites, which are the Italian Alps, where I did have to carry a pack. Um, and that was just a great experience. And so my next, besides the El Camino, I've already booked my trip to Nepal, and I'm going to hike to the base camp of Mount Everest. Not Mount Everest, but just to the base camp. So I figure while I'm still young, I can do it. And then when I get to be too old, I'll just walk around European villages. But until then, and eat bread and cheese and desserts. But until then, I really like hiking and walking. It gets you out of your head. I mean, somewhere I also read that people can do some of their best thinking while walking. I heard Steve Jobs always wanted to go on walks with people when he had meetings because it would give him ideals. And so I think it does that as well. Um,
I saw photos of you in the Dolomites and I thought, oh, this woman, how is she doing this? I
yes,
couldn't begin.
you have all day to hike 6 miles, 7 miles. That's how I saw it.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
but it's
it took a
it,
lot longer than what they say most people who hike in the Alps take. It was always like double the time. I thought, well, I'm from Indiana. You can't do hills in Indiana, right? I mean, what do you? I did a treadmill, an incline treadmill to prepare for it, but you can't really prepare for it till you get there. But it was just so gorgeous, and in the huts they take care of you. They feed you wonderful Italian food. Um, I love Italy, so that was a lot of fun. So that's probably the one of the big things that I do is walking and hiking. And the other thing is, I really enjoy sports, and so I mean, can sports be a in Indiana? It can be a spiritual
Yeah,
practice, right?
yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
right.
I enjoyed, my daughter and I were able to go to the Peach Bowl game where IU football won to go to the national title game, and that was so much fun. And followed IU basketball for many years. And to me, because there's so much negative news, so I do get up in the morning and I get out my New York Times and my NPR, and I try to stay um, abreast of what's going on, but it's just so damn depressing. And
Yeah,
a lot of it is stuff that, I can't do anything about. I mean, and um, so I try to get out of that space, and then maybe this is the third thing I do is really focus on what I'm grateful for and what brings me joy, um, which is one of the things I felt like I brought to Meridian Street, was joy, and they tell me that. Um, and I try to start worship in that space because, again, the news is so depressing, and I know most of my people are reading it and they come in and they're already in a not a good space. Um, and so, as a way to help them see, yes, this is going on, but there are some wonderful things going on in the world too that we can be grateful for. So,
wow, that is so helpful. I think I have a title for your book.
oh God, I'm
Only to the base camp.
only to the base camp. Well, I haven't done it yet. It is even higher altitude than
You
Machu
will.
Picchu.
I have some other friends who have. I actually have a friend who went to the top of Everest.
Yeah, I
He
don't think I'll do that.
he has, well, we don't need to talk about, his name's Jim Lumberg, a wonderful guy. He's climbed the highest peak in every continent.
Oh wow.
Amazing, amazing.
Maybe
But
when I was younger, I might have thought about that, but
yeah. Well, he was younger too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I do want to
So how do you
live.
choose these? Well, I know you talked about loving Italy. I know you have language facility too, and you had time in Latin America, and you have friends that recently have struggled with the whole immigration piece. Share some of what all of that experience has meant to you and your ministry.
Yeah, so of course I can't speak Spanish anymore, just to let you know. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I went to Guatemala for about a year right after graduating from college, and I do think that experience has shaped all of my viewpoint on the issue of immigration. And I, acknowledge that. Um, I remember we were able to travel to El Salvador when I was in Guatemala, and that's when they were in the midst of their civil war. So we barely got in the country, and I just remember one day we went out visiting all the families because this is, of course, what you do, and not one of them we visited had a man any longer in the house. They had all, if they hadn't joined the revolutionary group, they had all immigrated to the United States so they wouldn't have to fight. And that's the viewpoint of why people come to the United States is always, I remember that experience of that reality, and we were there that day. We were in El Salvador. There was some stuff going on. There was bombings, and so you could feel the fear that they felt, and why they would want to leave their country. Um, During the war. And then, although a lot of them want to go back, when after the Civil War was over, people that were up here wanted to go back to their country, their home country, where their family was. Um, and so that, really impacts my view of how we treat and see the immigration issue here, um, in the United States. I mean, Um, I mean, of course, I know people here who are here undocumented, and they, as soon as Trump was reelected, they were so afraid, um, and they still are. And um, one of them is around. I don't want to give full details.
Right, I
Um, and
understand.
I'm
I
just like,
understand.
if I shows, well, I have told people here, if I shows up at the church, you tell them they're not allowed unless they have a warrant. Most of them don't have warrants. And then I figure I'll make a few phone calls, go hide. you know, Whoever I might know that will need to hide. Um, so,
Yeah, we have friends as well who are undocumented, and I've watched as they have withdrawn, live more and more apart. The whole question of transportation uh, becomes a real challenge because people are taken off of public transportation, and it just goes on and on and on. The fear that people experience. So
we
what do you
they had
go
I
ahead?
wanted to tell you they supported an Afghan family through Exodus International who were
Right.
refugees. When I came on here, they were just kind of ending their time with that family. It was a family of 9, and because they're from Afghanistan, they just lost all of their SNAP benefits. So they're getting about $2,000 a month for food, all gone. And so this church is figuring out, okay, how can we figure out ways to continue to help and support them? Because that's a lot of, I mean, he obviously did something really important for the U.S. military in Afghanistan. Came over here, and this is how we treat them. It's just, ugh. That's one of the things that just makes me so angry.
I can't remember who it was that said it, but I go back to it often. The notion that it's really about the cruelty. It's uh, the
Hmm.
cruelty that's expressed toward people who are different, or uh, the need for either they're like me or they're somehow different. And I mean, you talk of your experience in Guatemala and El Salvador. I get it. Elaine and I were in Panama, and then back during the Contra War. I think, I don't know if you were at Broadway, uh, but I went to Nicaragua a couple of times with Witness for Peace, and it's very different when you know the names of the people and you can see their
Yes.
faces and you know their family, and you realize that that meal they prepared for you was the chicken
Yeah, that
that
they didn't have to give, you
yeah,
know? Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So um, are there ways? So you mentioned three things. I can't remember them now. Three
well,
things that are your
hiking,
spiritual practice.
walking, sports, because it is religion in Indiana, and then just focusing on gratitude and joy.
Oh yes, yeah, that's so important. And I love the way you think about beginning worship with that sense of we're here for that purpose. We have a friend who taught me that a good way to begin conversations with people is to ask them what brings you joy,
Yeah,
and I've found that to be very helpful uh, as I'm in conversation with people.
yeah.
So one of the things I ask our guests is, uh, some people have an object or an item in their office or at home, that a photograph or a book or a poem. Is there something that brings you sort of, is it a totem, an object uh, that reminds you of why you're doing this?
Oh my gosh. I'm just looking around my office, and of course, I have a dachshund clock because I have dachshunds. I have an IU plaque. so I, I got toys over in the corner. I got a pink cat I wore in service one Sunday. So this,
No,
I
that's
don't.
great.
I mean, that's the kinds of stuff that's in my office. Um, I am just looking around. I got lots of books. Um, I'm not a trinket kind of person, so that's probably why. Um,
So let me ask it in terms of people and friendships.
um, well, I would say my I'm gonna say my family, even and um, what my parents taught me growing up, and they've been to every church I've ever served. They drove up to Lafayette when I was in Lafayette. They came to Broadway. They're now at Meridian Street.
So
I
what
think Meridian,
what
I think Meridian Street's my dad's favorite. Don't tell the other ones.
so what people don't know who don't know you is what a remarkable family you have. Uh, Great sister and your mom and dad, and I know your mom's struggling. Well, both are struggling some with health issues, but yeah, in my mind, they're your totem.
They are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm
and
lucky to still have them. Go ahead.
yeah, don't you think that they taught you about the importance of joy and community?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
My
and
dad is a
still do.
walking, that's my dad is a walking man of joy. I mean, everything is, you know, um, when I played basketball, every year we could win the state championship, and every year IU men's basketball can win the national championship. He's like the most positive guy I know, and that was, yeah. And my
That's
mom
great.
was, I mean, I was thinking when she didn't have dementia. I tell people here, it's too bad you didn't know my mom because when she was at Broadway, I mean, during the passing of the peace, she went around and greeted everybody. She was still greeting people when the sermon started. I'm like, Mom, you need to sit down, you know. Um,
Yeah,
and I remember going down to the first Trump presidency. There was a big march, Indianapolis, and she went down with me, and
wow.
she got real active in her later years. It's just too bad um,
Yeah.
you know,
And you mentioned your
dementia's
daughter
taken her.
Grace earlier. That's part of
Oh
your
yeah,
family as well.
she
Yeah.
is part of my family as well. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, Phil, maybe, well, your kids are going to church, right? My daughter doesn't go to church. And she
M-
loved church as a kid,
yeah.
loved it, and still has relationships from people at Broadway that the people that mentored her through confirmation. She still meets with them on a regular basis.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I mean, but yeah,
So part of this is about how we define church.
yeah.
I that's part of my quibble with all of this anxious hand wringing about the death of the church, and it, it's bad theology to think that church is just uh, who goes inside our buildings.
Exactly. And what takes place at worship.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. That's part of the challenge for the future, and I, I I've been. Oh, I shouldn't even mention the book, but Ryan Burge has written a book recently about the death of the church, or I've forgotten the name,
Oh,
and he's just it's theologically void. I mean, what he is writing about are the numbers, are the demographics that some people saw coming, you know, 50 years ago,
hmm,
and they were helping us think no, 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 that's a different, that's not the church, that's not the body of Christ. uh,
yep.
that's something that's sociological that will pass, but there will still be a, well, as I still remember being in Great Britain, oh, probably 30 years ago, and someone said to one of the bishops there, Well, what are you going to do? You've got millions of dollars. You've got to pay for all these church scandals and all the rest. You're going to lose all your property. And this bishop said, well, if we lose it all, we'll get a table, a loaf of bread, and a bottle of wine, and we'll start all over again.
I love that. I love that. I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, it seems to me that that's what you do, not just on Sunday, but taking people on uh, hiking tours. Wow. I'll bet there'll be some bread and wine at tables on that trip.
There were with that group of people, I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Reverend Dr. Rachel Metheny, for uh, the ministry you provide and the way you look for joy and demonstrate it.
Well,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Phil.